Hi everybody. Today the subject is caregiving and the power of words. The words that we say to ourselves and the thoughts that we think up here are actually more powerful than we might even imagine. So here's an example of how words affect us. How many of you receive a compliment? Oh, you look good today. Great dress, nice shirt. Gosh, great workout. And you feel really, really good. Or you receive criticism or some comment from somebody that just kind of doesn't sit right with you. And maybe you feel attacked, or your ego gets bruised, or maybe the opposite. Maybe you are thankful for that little bit of criticism or constructive feedback because you view this as an opportunity to improve or to change something that you're doing, right? Because we can look at positive and negative things in different ways. The key of this video is that words and our thoughts have vibrational energy, which means that they make us feel one way or another. They sway our emotions one way or another. Intentions, meaning the thoughts that we set for our day, also have the power to change our energy and our experiences in daily life from positive to negative, depending on how we look at it. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. My website is pameladwilson.com. On there, a lot of hope, help, and support for caregivers and aging adults. Stay with me for this video while we talk about caregiving and the power of words and how you can actually set intentions to gain more control over your life. I'm going to share some research about the vibrational energy of water, and this is real research. It's by a gentleman named Masaru Emoto, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing his name incorrectly. But this man actually researched water crystals all over the world, and he did tests, and he related the way that these crystals looked to sickness or health or well-being in the human body, because our bodies are 55 to 60% water. So he took this idea of looking at water and related it to our health. Then we're going to talk about why setting intentions can also give you a little more power over situations. So many caregivers tell me, I feel like my life is out of control. I've got so much going on. It's like my parents, my work, my job, my family, everything. And I'm so stressed about this. Well, that's part of life. Stress is part of life, but we also have control over how we manage our stress in our life and our health. And sometimes that can be a difficult concept when we feel like everything is so much out of control and we can't get our brain to think a different way to get us out of that pattern of just stress and anxiety and everything's going wrong and I hate my life and I don't have a life. So it doesn't have to be that way. But to change this feeling, to change this dynamic, it's important to look at the words that we use, the thoughts that we think, and to create daily intentions. So as caregivers, the words we use are important, but also our response to the words of others to us is equally important. Because again, we can change the way that we think, the way that we feel, the way that we behave when we're in the moment and when we're intentional and attentional, when we're paying attention. So this researcher from Japan, Masaru, took water from all over the world and he looked at it under a microscope. And water, when you look at it under a microscope, has crystals in it. So he did that. And if you've ever heard of the Lady of Lourdes and people going to Lourdes to bask in the water and be healed, he had crystals from Lourdes, he had crystals from other places in the world. He also took water and just put them in jars, right? And then he would put labels on the jars like love, joy, hope, anger, hate, sickness. And interestingly enough, when he looked at the water in those jars that were labeled differently, what do you think he saw? The crystals associated with the words love and joy were symmetrical and they were beautiful, lovely patterns, a lot like amazing snowflakes that you might see, right? But then when he looked at the water that was in the jars labeled with hate and sickness and illness, those crystals didn't look so good. They were crooked or lopsided, non-symmetrical. The colors weren't pretty. And he called this science Hado, H-A-D-O. And it's the idea that thoughts and feelings affect physical mass and reality and health. So you can look him up. His name is Masaru, M-A-S-A-R-U, Emoto, E-M-O-T-O. He actually wrote a book called The Hidden Messages of Water. There are videos here on YouTube that you can watch that correspond to this idea of crystals from all over the world and crystals in jars with different labels. So this takes our thought process a little further, right? But there is wisdom to be gained about the words that we say. A lot of being a caregiver is responding to other situations and things that come at us, right? And a lot of us is health related because we're taking care of maybe an aging parent or a spouse. Maybe our health as the caregiver is getting worse and we're worried about it. The stress of caregiving. It does take a negative toll on many aspects of your life, not just your health, which is why it's so important to get your mind out of that place of fear and frustration and anger and resentment. Because if that's all you think, that is going to cause health problems. It's going to create the world that you live in. On the other hand, using positive words and thoughts and being very intentional can help you gain control over those negative thoughts to move them over to the positive side. So let's talk about intentions for a minute, which are kind of similar to goals, but not quite. Intentions are kind of like the icing on the cake, if you want to call it. So let's talk about goals for a minute. A specific goal for you might be today to write a 10-page term paper that you've got due for school if you're a student, or maybe you're a salesperson and you're like, oh, I want to close a sale today, or 2 sales or 3 sales. So those are like finite goals, right? But then what if on top of that, you had intentions for the day that supported those goals? What are examples of intentions? Well, it's things like, I'm going to be very kind and loving to myself today and everybody else that I meet. I'm going to compliment somebody. I'm open to new opportunities and new experiences. So instead of my mind saying, no, 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 I'm going to say yes, or maybe I should think about that, or maybe that's valid if it's something that I automatically would disagree with. Another intention, I'll accept whatever life brings today and I will manage through it. I'll be positive in all of my interactions with other people. I'll take care of my body today. When we set our mind and focus on intentions, and we think about those in everything that we do today, in all of our reactions to other people, to things that come at us, those thoughts can influence the way we respond and our goals that we have set, so that we have and we choose to have more positive outcomes. So at the end of the day, we can say, wow, this was really a good day, instead of, wow, what a day that was. I don't want to have to go through that again. So let's say that your intention for today is, I will be positive in all interactions with others. And you're driving and somebody cuts you off in traffic, or an aging parent, or whoever you care for just snaps at you. Instead of immediately just reacting with any feeling or thought that comes up, like exasperation, anger, or resentment, which, if you go back to that water example, changes your body composition, you can stop yourself and say, oh, none of that anger or resentment or bad feelings, they're not welcome here. Love, joy, hope, peace is welcome here. I am going to choose to respond positively with kindness and compassion to this situation that normally would upset me, but no more. I'm not going to allow that. So in a sense, what you've done is refuse to allow the energy or the emotions of another person to negatively affect you. You've set up this wall that says, that's your stuff. You keep that. I'm choosing to feel and think a different way. In a sense, you've set a boundary that protects your health and your well-being. So, and as a result, when you respond positively, you might diffuse or deflect some of that negative energy coming from the other person because they're wanting to attack you. They want to upset you. They want you to react negatively. And when you choose not to do that, you have the power and you take their power away to negatively affect you. And when you respond positively, at best, you are not going to make that situation worse by engaging with them, right, in negative talk, or going to that place of no return where you might say something that you regret and then later you're thinking, oh man, I shouldn't have lost my cool. I shouldn't have said that. I feel guilty, right? Don't let other people make you lose your cool. Don't let other people make you feel guilty about engaging with them because they baited you. So going back to the beginning, by relating caregiving to the power of words and our thoughts, all of that affects our body and our mind, and we can really come to a place of peace and calm and ownership and power because we stop giving others, we stop giving situations power over our lives as caregivers. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Thanks for joining me for this video today. Please press the share button. Please press the follow button. Follow me here on YouTube. Share these videos with other people that you know who are looking for hope, help, and support, and maybe ways to think about caregiving and life just a little bit differently. I'll see you all again soon in another video.